Chapter 119 of Married Thrice to Salted Fish. Lynching considered this matter for several months. During this period of time, news that the emperor wanted to make Prime Minister Lin empress spread among the civil and military officials. Everyone's reaction was different, but generally speaking, the military officials turned silent upon hearing it, while the civil officials cried. The military officials only knew that Prime Minister Lin was General Gu's widow and that he was about to remarry after being a widow for a year and a half. Oh, you say this is General Gu's own last wish? And that Prime Minister Lin also didn't want to remarry? Oh, that's all right then. The civil servants wondered if the emperor's mental disease had relapsed, wanting to actually appoint a man as empress, and not just any man, but one who'd been widowed twice. But obviously, His Majesty wasn't insane. Otherwise, how could he have made such a harsh and decisive judgment regarding the governor of Langzhou, Xian Shi Yuan's corruption case? Not only did he have Xian Shi Yuan beheaded, but he also made an example of him, ordering all officials above the fourth rank in the capital to go to the execution ground to watch the sentence being carried out. So the problem must be lynching you. Relying on his appearance, it was not enough that this person seduced Gu Fuzhou back then, he even dared to covet the position of empress. Such outrageous behavior. One courageous old minister forced his way into the general's mansion, pointed his finger at Lynching Yu, and cursed at him. Unexpectedly, Lynching Yu, instead of getting angry, smiled and invited the old man into the mansion. He served him tea and said, "To be honest, I do not wish to remarry. Unfortunately, going against an imperial decree means death. Why don't you go and dissuade the emperor for me?" The old minister, ... Therefore, a group of veteran ministers came crying to Xinjiang Hall. "Your Majesty, you must not. A male wife goes against the natural order. A male empress would bring disaster upon our country and the people. Insisting upon having your own way, you doom the Shao family line." Jiang Sheng raised his head from the mountain of scrolls and raised his eyebrows. "Are you done?" The old minister was so agitated that his whole face went flushed. He added, "You doom the country, the nation, and its people." Jiang Sheng didn't get angry. You could even say he was gentle and polite. "Once you have finished what you want to say, go back quickly. I'm busy." The old minister shouted, voice now hoarse, "Your Majesty!" Jiang Sheng said again, "That Zhen will make Prime Minister Lin empress is not up for discussion with you. I am only informing you all. Come and have a drink with me when you have time." The old minister covered his chest with his hand and almost vomited blood. "Your Majesty!" Also, the Empress Dowager has already agreed to this matter. She is getting along in years. Do not bother her. The old ministers, ... Wu Yoyan, far in the northwest, learning of this, cut off the arm of the Shishya prince to congratulate the empress. Back then, Gu Fuzhou had also been about his age when he took the life of Shishya's crown prince and made a name for himself on the battlefield. The young man's epic of youthful righteous ardor had just begun. The Dayu's first male empress was also the first male empress in history. How exactly they were to form this marriage was a problem. The crowning of an empress was inherently complex and complicated. The officials of the Ministry of Rites had to formulate a new sequence of processes. This dragged on for another half year, Until the old ministers couldn't help but feel numb to the matter, in the end, Lin Yu, who didn't really wish to remarry, was forced to nod in assent. In the second year of the emperor's reign, the emperor wed his empress. It was announced to every corner of the nation, and there was universal rejoicing. Lin Yu once again put on a wedding dress for Jiangxing. Counting the previous 3 times, this was the 4th time. Marrying the emperor was different from marrying any others. Jiangxing knew that he didn't like complicated things, so he specially chose a simple and solemn wedding dress for him the last time they were married. But this time, he needed to wear the dress embroidered with a pair of phoenixes flying together. The Shangfu Bureau had spent half a year working on it. He had to don on this phoenix coronet specially fashioned for a man. On his forehead, a phoenix feather Hadian had to be painted. He must sit on a palanquin with 8 carriers and be carried from the imperial palace's main gate to within the palace. His crowning as empress was held in Huai's tower. It was held with great strength and impetus, displaying the bearing of royalty. The first snow had just melted, but the upper floor of Huai Tower was filled with flowers. But no matter how many flowers competed to be most beautiful, when the emperor and empress walked up the steps hand in hand, everything was relegated to being the foil of set of their beauty. Apart from the sound of the bead curtains clinking on the phoenix crown, Lin Yu could only hear the beating of his own heart. He stood beside Jiangxing and held Jiangxing's hand. He could feel Jiangxing's hand damp with sweat. On the surface, he looked so calm and composed, with the bearing proper for a monarch of a country. So many people stared at Jiangxing, looking at him as though he were divinity. Only Lin Yu knew that Jiangxing was still the same boy whose palms sweated when he was nervous. Like this, he accompanied him, walking step by step to the highest spot. Hundreds of officials paid homage. Heaven and earth celebrated together. From this day on, winter had another meaning to Lin Yu. It was night time, the flowers were beautiful, the moon was full, and the happy evening was bitterly short. No one dared to pour the emperor wine. Having learned from his past mistake, this time Jiangxing came to Fengyi Palace completely sober. Not a drop of wine touched his lips. Lin Yu had already put on a bridal veil after the ceremony proclaiming him as empress. He was just sitting quietly on the bridal bed. The empress' wedding dress was dignified and heavy. His body was covered tightly. Only a pair of white jade-like hands were exposed. On his left ring finger was a ring engraved with a dragon pattern. Jiangxing breathed a sigh of relief. Lin Yu had been obsessed with cultivating Gu for many days. He had been worried he would come in to see that Lin Yu had sent away all the officials and was silently hatching poisonous lizard eggs. So far, so good. He twisted the ring engraved with the phoenix feather around his finger. When the official reminded him that it was time to remove the bridal veil, he raised his hand. He was about to lift away the bridal veil when he suddenly stopped, as though he didn't want to disturb the beauty. The official called out again, and only then did he regain his composure, and he reached out his hand again. The playful bridal veil was disturbed, and a beautiful face like peaches and plums gradually appeared behind veil's tassels. They locked eyes, Jiang Sheng was momentarily dazed, as though drunk. He was distracted by his bright eyes, dazzled by his beauty. They have been married 3 times. They have dated for 3 years and they have shared the same bed 306 times. But at this moment, Lin Chingyu still made his heart flutter, bashful and at a loss. The official reminded him that it was time to drink the wine, but he gave no response. Lin Chingyu said, "You're all dismissed." Hearing the sound of the door closing, Jiang Sheng finally came back to his senses. Seeing Lin Chingyu's teasing expression, he immediately tried to regain some dignity, putting on a look as though he had seen all to be seen. He said with a smile, "Beauty, you are my Lao Po once again." Lin Chingyu raised his eyebrows. The huaryan on his forehead also moved slightly. "What does Lao Po mean in your hometown?" "Didn't I tell you?" Jiang Sheng was a little surprised. "Lao Po means wife." Lin Chingyu made the proper inferences. "Then that means Lao Gong means husband?" Jiang Sheng smiled and said, "Exactly." Lin Chingyu nodded. He picked up the wine pot, poured 2 cups of wine, and handed one of them to Jiang Sheng. "Then let's share a drink, Lao Gong." Being called Lao Gong by this classical beauty in a wedding dress, Jiang Sheng felt he must have already lived a full life. He took the wine cup and wrapped his left hand around Lin Chingyu's right, drank the wine in one gulp. Taking off the bridal veil, drinking wine together, they did everything a normal wedded couple should do, missing not a single step. After that, only consummating their marriage remained. Jiang Sheng was in no hurry. He wanted to admire this beauty in red for a little longer. He stood in front of Lin Chingyu, raised his chin with his hand, looked at Lin Chingyu seriously, and suddenly sighed. "What I wouldn't give for a camera right now." Lin Chingyu asked, "What is a camera?" Jiang Sheng sat down beside Lin Chingyu and began to teach him the basic principles of a camera. Lin Chingyu listened for a while, then smiled lightly and said, "It's our 3rd wedding night. Are you sure you want to be talking about this?" "Weren't you the one who asked?" "You can tell me later," Lin Chingyu said. "If we don't do this now, it's going to be dawn." Under the light of the red candles, Jiang Sheng's eyes were so very bright. "But Baobei is so beautiful. I don't know where to start." Lin Chingyu grabbed his hand and put it on a certain part of his body, with a slight smile on the corner of his lips. "From here." Jiang Sheng's breathing tightened. He said with a smile, "Then I shall listen to my wife." Jiang Sheng pushed Lin Chingyu to fall back on the swath of red. With the strong feeling of their deep love, they locked eyes on each other. Lin Chingyu tried to raise his hand to touch the corner of Jiang Sheng's eye. "You look so good." "I look good?" Lin Chingyu said softly. "You on top of me, dripping with sweat. You look so good." Jiang Sheng paused for a moment, his eyes filled with emotions. His voice was so hoarse he could barely speak. "You're going to be the death of me." Waking up in the middle of the night, Lin Chingyu turned over. Before he even opened his eyes, he heard a voice. "Chingyu, I'm here." Lin Chingyu slowly opened his eyes. He didn't realize that there was no longer anyone beside him. He saw Jackson sitting at the table and turned over a report in his hand. Why did you wake up suddenly? Lynching blinked his eyes, making certain he hadn't seen wrong. What are you doing? Jiang Sheng was full of resentment. Reading these reports, I finally understand that my salted fish dreams went completely up in flames the moment I became emperor. From now on, I will be a donkey paddling forward with the country on my back. Lynching you. You might be donkey, but there is no need for you to read reports on your wedding night, is there? True, Jackson said, pained. But I was so nervous and anxious these past few days that I couldn't do anything. I have left a lot of things undone. Lynching you wondered. Why were you nervous and anxious? Jackson said calmly. You make me nervous. I was going to marry you again. Lynching you laughed. It's not the first time we have been married. There was nothing to be nervous about it. Marrying you, no matter how many times I do it, I will definitely still be nervous. And this time, I was going to marry you with my own body. So, of course, the feeling is different. Lynching his heart throbbed, and his chest felt slightly hot. This person's casual words could so easily make him blush and his heart skip a beat, like a young man discovering romance for the first time. He was so capable. Then go ahead and finish those up. Once you are done, come to bed. Jackson sighed. All right, go to sleep first. Don't wait up for me. Lynching couldn't smell the other's scent and feel the other's warmth beside him. He still wasn't used to it, and so he asked, Can you come and read those in bed? The corner of Jiang Sheng's lips ticked up. If you want your husband to coax you to sleep, you can just say it. So, Lynching said directly, I want my husband to coax me to sleep. Jiang Sheng went to bed with the scroll in his arms. Half lying down against the pillow, he took Lynching Yu into his arms. Go to sleep, Baobei. We have to go to Xi'an Palace to pay our respects tomorrow morning. Lynching Yu nodded, found a comfortable position in Jiang Sheng's arms, and closed his eyes once again. As the night darkened, Jiang Sheng became more and more sleepy. He struggled to finish his reading. He then turned his head and saw the mountain of reports piled up beside him and couldn't help feeling sad. He was still working overtime on his wedding night. Even donkeys weren't put to work this hard. How did he fall to this level? The person in his arms moved slightly in his sleep. Jiang Sheng looked down at him. Lynching Yu was pillowed against his abdomen, breathing lightly against his stomach, his long lashes casting shadows on his cheeks. He quickly had an answer. Because there was one thing that was more important than being salted fish. His wish was for Lynching Yu to be unrestrained, to be able to do what he wanted to do, even to be able to do bad things without the slightest scruple. He hoped that Lynching Yu could freely pursue his ideals and live out the brightest and most dazzling existence. He didn't want Lynching Yu to be well behaved and sensible. He didn't want Lynching Yu to suppress himself for the so-called good of the country. He wanted Lynching Yu to be willful and happy forever. For this reason, he was willing to be a salted fish that was not so idle. Oh my gosh, they are finally married, and I love our Zhang Gongxi and his love for Lynching Yu. They are such a freaking sweet couple. I love it.